Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, we are still discussing about the treatment option and protocol and technique for depression, and today I'm going to tell you about what are the treatment expectations. So as within CBT as well as Pi-CBT, Positive Islamic Cognitive Behavior Therapy, we have the methodology in which you can follow. Okay, it is in this book. All right, it's in our book here to give you some guideline of how to go about with it. Naturally, you have to have a coach to give you a detailed explanation of the technique. So, if we go into what I can expect from my treatment, there are many techniques used in CBT. Pi-CBT. Some are used for treatment sessions, some for homework assignments, and some for both. Most are aimed at modifying negative or anxiety-provoking thoughts. Some of the techniques are as follows. So one is examining the evidence for and against a negative thought. So we have this as a way of training our client or our patient how to examine this, because they have this. In cases patient feeling disliked by his boss, the technique may involve asking questions. For example, a patient come in, he's depressed because of the nature of his work, with his relationship with the boss. What was that evidence that I'm disliked by my boss? So you can ask that kind of question. Was there another interpretation for that evidence? Was there any evidence that I've done a bad job in my work? Was there anything wrong about feeling anxious in my situation? Or wasn't it just a natural reaction? It's just a normal reaction because somebody is high up in the hierarchy. You feel a fear. So, examining the evidence for and against the negative thoughts is one of the techniques that you can slowly infuse into the psyche of your client, so that he or she can then be more at home with understanding that their negative thoughts and their automatic thoughts based on the current situation is not viable, but it must be done in such a way that it is gentle and it is graded, because you cannot jump and say, hey, the way you think like that is nonsense, you cannot do that, and that is not the way. So this is where you learn the technique of how to actually bring the person into this idea of getting out of their negative thoughts by a gradation exercise. Number two, reality testing. So you also have to infuse in your client the idea that their sense of reality is distorted, and that's why they have this problem of depression or whatever that is related to this situation. For example, the therapist may encourage the patient to test the validity of his negative thoughts by creating a reality chart, which involves the following stages. That means you can make a chart identifying the notion, hypothesis, and rating in terms of belief. Does he really believe in it on a scale of 1 to say 10? Okay, so you whatever that person is saying about their fear, their worry, their depression, you just can list it out. Okay, and then from there you can figure out how you can solve the problem. All right, so working out what it could be predict at the end of the relationship, what is the situation that you can want, the outcome that you want, and reevaluating his method of data collection as well as relating his original belief. So you go back to the client original belief and how you can shift it from depression to just mere sadness and then to normalcy. The patient might also be given homework whereby he needs to collect evidence to test his or her fear or hypothesis. Most importantly, he needs to assess if there is any other real evidence that might point towards his negative thoughts. So what are the other evidence? Because the likelihood of that situation actually coming to being is only very, very small. Maybe in out of 100, maybe only 2% of the situation I've explained in the various video. In case where the person's negative thoughts are justified and when other people's behavior is not so easily modifiable, another strategy would be needed, and this could be the basis of more traditional counseling. So if certain of your approach doesn't work, you have to go on to the next approach. So number 3 is success therapy and graded assignment. This is very important because as you get a person who is depressed, he or she will be very lethargic. They are not willing to do anything. they feel that this is the end of the world, or they feel that it's no hope, and so on. So as lack of energy in depressive illness can often lead to inactivity, success therapy is designed to encourage routine activities such as going to work, cooking, going for a walk, shopping, playing a game, or watching TV. In this technique, therapists and patients will agree targets for the week, graded according to how long each one may take and how hard it is. So you give them certain tasks, say walking, okay? Start with 10 minutes a day. In the neighborhood, maybe then later on grade it to 15, 20, then you get the 30 minutes nice walking along the pathway or in the park or something like that. That is where you grade them up, so that you get out of the house. All right. An initial cooking target may be something basic like boiling an egg or toasting a piece of bread. New targets are set as you achieve success. So first you teach them, for example, if they are preparing their own breakfast, it's just a matter of frying an egg or cooking an egg. So that could be a task you write down for them to do. All right. A new target is set as you achieve success. A therapist will probably challenge a patient who says, I can't do it, I'm so tired, I'm so fed up, everything. So this is where encouragement in terms of having the sense of the inner quest is very important. That's why it's in Islam, you must always have hope. Hope in your life, hope in your relationship, most importantly, hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is where the Islamic counseling aspect can come in. But as I say, you must do it gently so that that person who receives this input from the Islamic perspective, who may not be practicing Islam in its normalcy, will find quite intruding. For them, it is as if you are intruding into their life and expecting them to do something that they would not want to do, or they feel that it is not their way of solving their problem. So this is where you got to be very careful when you bring the Islamic element. I have given you some ideas in the previous video. You try to bring it in such a way that it's bringing from the perspective of what? Hubbullah, the love of Allah to us. Always bring back, because people who are desperate, people who are depressed, they always need love. So the love must come from where? At the highest level, Hubbullah, the love from Allah. And then maybe, as I mentioned earlier on, the zikr, seeking forgiveness from Allah, using Asmaul Husna, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud. Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud. So you can tell them, instead of telling them, hey, you must pray 5 times a day, you must go wake up in the night, do tahajjud, and so on. That will be too far off, because this person is so disconnected. But if you tell him about the love of Allah, the mercy of Allah, the forgiveness of Allah, in you giving them an idea that this is something that is good for them, and it is a way in which you can build relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without too much of a problem. So you can teach them this. As I said, this zikr, Asmaul Husna, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur. So each time they have these negative thoughts or this depression, you can tell them, okay, just remember this little phrase. Ya Allah is Allah, the Almighty. Ya Ghafur, most forgiving. Ya Wadud, the most loving. So they remember the mercy, the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and slowly will get them out of the depressive state. Number 4 is activity scheduling. All right. So you must, in your approach towards the protocol or the technique, you must have activities scheduling. A person who is depressed usually stop engaging in activities. As a result, their mood get worse. So they go through the negative, the vicious cycle, not the virtuous cycle of going better and better, but getting worse and worse, more and more depressed. Activity scheduling seeks to reverse that process and enable you to log your progress over a period of days, weeks, months, and so on. Looking over your progress in a written form can be surprisingly encouraging. So before that you don't even cook your breakfast or fry an egg. You don't even eat your breakfast. Now you're regularly eating breakfast. So you can see that before that you don't even walk for 10 minutes. Now you're walking 30 minutes a day. So from there you can build up the necessary impact in terms of activity, and try to bring this activity at the 4 levels. SEMP, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. I'll give you the chart later on where you can develop an activity scheduling of SEMP as one of the techniques, which I will give you later. All right. So the theory behind the concept is that all we need is to feel good about ourselves, and we need to have this feeling reinforced. For example, by compliment, by mastery over some of the activities that we need, or by, for example, for people who are facing an examination, by passing the examination or at least get a better grade, and so on. So they also need to feel pleasurable in life. This word pleasurable is something that we have to encourage them in terms of relationship with their family, with their friends. So because the more isolated we are, the more depressed we become. So try to get into activities that is useful for them. For example, if they love sports, get back to their friends who are playing futsal, for example, all right, or get back to their friends who are involved in, for example, in basketball or badminton or whatever it is, you know. So you go out and then meet and talk, and even simple thing like meeting your friends in the restaurant in the night, chit-chatting over a cup of tea or coffee. It is very useful, especially when that become a routine. Then you can get the positive vibes from your relationship, the laughing and the joking that you have with your friends. And number 5 is keeping a diary. So it is important. This helps to log thoughts, feelings, and that involve, and you can do this what we call thought catching. Whatever negative thought, you monitor your feelings and catch the accompanying thoughts and record them in a thought diary. This may pinpoint to critical difference between absolute negative thoughts and rational response to a particular event. All right, and slowly as you become their coach or their therapist, you can see from the diary how this person is progressing, and then can give them the necessary compliments and how they can achieve a better understanding of what expectation they have in terms of treating their depression. So this integrated approach, I hope, will give you some idea that it is structured. CBT is structured, Positive Islamic Cognitive Behavior Therapy is also structured, and the structure is what we do as 1, examining the evidence for and against the negative thoughts. 2, the approach to reality testing. Number 3, the success therapy graded tasks and assignments. Number 4, what you need to do in terms of activities scheduling. And number 5, keeping a diary and journaling, which I have explained in the previous video. You can go back to the journaling aspect where I link it together with ISDT, inner speech dialogue technique, which is very particular to our Positive Islamic Cognitive Behavior Therapy. So inshallah, if you have these necessary tools, inshallah, you can begin to help your friends or your client who are having depression, inshallah, and you feel that you can do something. But always remember, when we are doing these things, we are the servant of Allah, the Caliph of Allah. For our own very good, we always strive to make ourselves good, help others to be good, and make this world good. And inshallah, get as many friends as possible to log in into our YouTube, Islamic Psychology PIP, so that we can share this knowledge, even for those who are not interested in psychology, but to get some motivation of how to go about their life in a normal, happy, wonderful way of life, inshallah.